He almost turned around the moment he saw her wheelchair. Ethan stood frozen by the cafe's glass door, his fingers tightening around the bouquet of daisies he'd picked up from a street vendor on his way. His best friend had insisted he needed to get out, meet someone, start living again. "It's just dinner," they'd said. "She's sweet, kind, and deserves a good man." But they hadn't mentioned this. The woman sitting near the window, graceful yet fragile looking, her hands resting quietly on her lap, was clearly paralyzed from the waist down. And for a man like Ethan, broken, tired, and carrying a world of his own regrets, it suddenly felt like too much to handle. Before we go on, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the beauty of unexpected love, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who still believes in good hearts finding their way back to each other. Ethan forced himself to breathe. His 8-year-old daughter, Lily, had begged him to go out. "Daddy, you need someone who smiles at you," she'd said innocently as she braided her doll's hair that morning. He couldn't tell her how much he missed her mother, the wife he lost to cancer 3 years ago, or how every smile he gave the world since then felt rehearsed. So, he took one step inside. The woman looked up as the doorbell chimed softly. She smiled, a genuine, warm smile that immediately disarmed him. "You must be Ethan," she said softly, her voice clear but gentle. "I'm Grace." He nodded, setting the flowers on the table awkwardly. Her perfume was light, like rain and fresh paper. There was something strong about her presence, despite the chair that framed her. "Nice to meet you," he managed, though his chest tightened with guilt. Guilt for almost walking away. Guilt for assuming weakness where there might be strength. The first few minutes were quiet. Awkward even. He didn't know what to say, and she didn't seem to mind the silence. But then, she asked about Lily, and suddenly his words flowed. He told her about the bedtime stories, the science projects, and the pancakes shaped like stars. She listened, really listened, with eyes that didn't pity him, just understood. And in return, she shared glimpses of her own world. Her love for books, how she missed running, how the world tended to talk to the chair instead of the person in it. Ethan felt something stir, a fragile connection between two broken souls, quietly mending cracks through conversation. As the evening unfolded, laughter began to replace hesitation. Grace had a quiet humor that surprised him. When he spilled his drink, she teased him about needing adult supervision. When the waiter offered dessert, she ordered 2. Because one is never enough when life's been stingy. By the time they said goodbye, Ethan found himself not wanting to leave. He walked her to her car, noticing the modified hand controls and the quiet confidence with which she maneuvered them. She didn't need help. She didn't ask for it. And for the first time in years, he didn't feel like he was rescuing someone. He felt like he was being seen. The next morning, Ethan found himself smiling for no reason as he packed Lily's lunch. She noticed immediately. "You look happy, Daddy," she said with a grin. "Did she make you smile?" He laughed, nodding. "Yeah, kiddo." She did. Over the next few weeks, their paths intertwined more often. Coffee turned into dinners, and dinners turned into long drives to the park where Grace and Lily bonded like they'd known each other forever. Grace would tell stories that made Lily giggle, and Ethan would watch them, feeling something he hadn't in years. Peace. But not everyone saw it that way. When Ethan's co-workers learned about Grace, they weren't kind. "You're wasting your time," one sneered. "You're a single dad. Why tie yourself down with someone who can't even walk?" The word stung, more than he cared to admit. That night, he drove to Grace's apartment and found himself hesitating before knocking. Could he handle this? The looks, the whispers, the judgment? But when she opened the door, wearing that same calm smile, the answer became clear. Inside her apartment, there was a wall full of photographs, awards, business meetings, framed magazine covers. His eyes widened as he recognized her name printed under one of them. Grace Whitmore, CEO of Whitmore Tech Industries. He turned to her, stunned. "You're this Grace Whitmore?" She smiled, slightly embarrassed. "Yes. I didn't tell you at first because I wanted you to see me, not the name, not the company." Ethan stood there, speechless. The woman he thought he was strong enough to protect was, in reality, far stronger than he could ever imagine. Grace explained that she had built her company from scratch before the accident that paralyzed her 2 years ago. A car crash, caused by a drunk driver, had taken her ability to walk, but not her will to live. She went back to work 6 months later, running board meetings from her wheelchair, defying every whisper that said she'd fade away. Ethan felt something shift in his chest. Respect. Oh, maybe even love. But the truth was, he was still scared. Scared of letting someone in again. Scared of being enough for a woman who had conquered so much. And Grace, though strong, carried fears too. The fear of being seen as fragile, of being chosen out of pity. For weeks, they drifted apart. Ethan avoided her calls, drowning himself in work and Lily's laughter. But every night, when he tucked his daughter into bed, his mind returned to that smile, that quiet strength. Then came the night that changed everything. Lily had fallen sick. Nothing serious, but enough to send Ethan into a panic. He called Grace out of instinct, forgetting the walls he'd built. She arrived faster than he expected, her chair rolling quietly into the hospital room as she handed Lily a stuffed bear. She looked tired, pale even, but her presence calmed the storm in his heart. Later that night, as Lily slept, Ethan stepped outside to find Grace waiting by the vending machine. "You shouldn't have come," he said softly, though his voice trembled. She looked up at him, her eyes glistening. "You don't get to push people away every time you're scared, Ethan. You think you're protecting everyone, but you're just isolating yourself." Her words hit deep. He realized she was right. He'd been hiding behind loss, using pain as an excuse not to heal. Grace, in her quiet courage, had faced far worse, and still chose to love, live, and give. Something broke open inside him then. He knelt down in front of her, tears glistening under the hospital lights. "I don't know how to do this," he whispered, "but I want to try. With you." Grace smiled, her own tears falling freely. "Then let's learn together." From that night on, they became a team. Not perfect, but real. Ethan began helping at Whitmore Tech's charity drives, learning about Grace's vision to develop technology for people with disabilities. Lily adored Grace, calling her Superwoman. And slowly, Ethan began to believe in miracles again. Months later, at a fundraising gala, Ethan stood on stage beside Grace as she delivered a speech that brought the audience to tears. "Strength isn't about walking tall," she said, her voice steady. "It's about standing firm when life tries to break you. It's about loving again when you've lost everything." As applause filled the hall, Ethan caught her eye from the crowd and smiled. A smile full of pride, gratitude, and love. They had tricked him into meeting her, yes. But maybe fate had been the real trickster all along. Because in trying to fix his broken heart, he found someone who showed him it was never truly broken, just waiting for the right touch to beat again. And Grace? She found someone who didn't see her chair, her wealth, or her title, but saw her, the woman behind the strength, the soul that still dreamed.